Hello everybody, Dave Neal here, stand-up comic host of Bachelor Nation News. In this video, we have Jason Tartick's podcast, Trading Secrets, offering some advice to the Bachelor producers on how to revive the show. I thought it'd be fun for us to have a listen, offer our 2 cents, and hear what he has to say. Of course, we know Jason Tartick starting his own talent agency, really understanding the power of equity when it comes to building wealth. Having left a high-powered corporate job to pursue life on his own and probably, take that leap of faith. As we know, leap in the net will appear, and he has been able to share his, I don't want to say rags to riches story. He probably was already doing pretty well, but now he's doing really well. So he's got some advice on how the producers can, equip the alumni with tools to help them succeed, which may in turn want more high-quality people, more demand for them on the show. All right, follow me on Instagram at DNeals, patreon.com/Dave Neal for behind-the-scenes bonus content. We have 299 Patreon members. Who wants to be lucky number 300? Next person gets a personal virtual hug from me. And, of course, Bachelor Rush Hour, the afternoon podcast. So look at that. That was only 10 seconds of me promoting my stuff. All right, let's get into it, folks. There you have it. Let's just play. So he had Heather McDonald on his podcast, although we're not going to listen to that clip right now. But here's a quick clip from her.
Someone can give you is treating you so badly that you can cut them out of your life without any guilt.
I love that piece of advice because I think that applies to relationships and friendships. I also think that applies to people that are like stuck in a shitty work environment.
Yes.
And they're like, let's get back to white chicks. So you land.
Oh yeah, the idea that if you're in a bad work environment, which everyone's had this experience. So the idea that a work environment could get so bad that you finally either quit or get fired or whatever. So many people, the problem I think that exists is that their work environment just isn't bad enough. It's kind of like just good enough. There's been arguments that like the way that bosses kind of dangle the carrot in front of you. It's like just good enough that you make your money, but not enough to truly save and all these other issues. Well, some contestants that have been on The Bachelor have done really well for themselves. Tayshia, Colton, Caitlin, Rachel Lindsay, Rachel Kirkconnell, Rachel Recchia, we don't really have much of a sample size yet. So some people do really well after being on the show and catapult themselves to success. JoJo, I mean, we're talking big time, careers, but not everybody. A lot of people get the short end of the stick. So let's hear what Jason has to say regarding how he thinks the show can help its alumni do well.
You're seeing it all over, and people are wondering about the future of the show. And we didn't really get your opinion, your take on it, but I got a hypothetical. If Mike Fleiss came up to you and wanted to make Jason Tartick the executive producer of the show and the brand The Bachelor, what are some of the things that you think that you're doing to really turn it around?
I would do 2 things immediately. I'm CEO. The 2 things I would do is I would really put more emphasis on leads moving forward and really be really strategic with who I'm picking as a lead and why. The second thing I would do, one of the reasons that people can go on the show, come off the show, and build all these businesses, it's only one reason. It's community.
Okay, so we're going to get into the next part. First, I think they do a good job of really analyzing who they want to be the leader of their show. I mean, every season it's make or break. They have one lead most of the time that has to deliver for them. I think what people don't realize is what the show wants in their secret sauce is different than what the audience wants. Clayton Echard gave the show what they wanted, which was someone who's going to be the company man, do what they say, kind of take the bait, and then maybe it blows up in their face. But that's kind of what they wanted to an extent.
The engagement in the community in the Bachelor Nation since day one has been unbelievable and unlike no other of any other show. They attract the Kendall Jenners and all the Kardashians. They attract, people like my mom and dad in Buffalo, New York. A to Z, they got them all. And then they become a community of these people. The problem is I think they've gotten away from the community. They've gotten too focused on bullshit, and they haven't gotten focused on building this community back, keeping the alumni, building up the new talent, creating like a Bravo scenario where you're just building this unbelievable community where the people want to be part of it. The people that have gone through this want to interact. Go look on Twitter. No one's tweeting about it. Go look at the alumni. Go look at the leads. No one's got it in their bio.
I don't think it's as dire as he's making it sound, but I do agree that they could for sure harvest a better alumni circle, a better Bachelor universe. And one of the ways I think they can do this is there's only so many hours a week that you can be on ABC. That's why what I love when there's a stand-up comedian on a late night talk show, it's really cool to think about it. Like if someone was on Jay Leno, of course he's not around anymore, but on NBC, for the 5-minute set that comedian's doing, he's the only person on screen on across that entire network, which is really cool. But when you look at it from a scarcity principle, there's only so many time slots that the network can give to different things. So The Bachelor gets 2 hours a week for 12 weeks, twice a year, plus Bachelor in Paradise. So essentially they've got 75 total hours, whatever the number is, out of the whole year for the show to be live on air. You can't harvest a full community that way. In my opinion, what the show needs to do is really build up its YouTube channel, because there's so much room for valuable interviews. I'm not talking about Bachelor Happy Hour or Talking It Out or these kind of just like sedated, kind of like castrated versions of podcasting, because those conversations are happening with some bad Zoom line with a weed whacker going on out the window. It's just garbage. What they really need is a dedicated set in Los Angeles where they can have a couch and do an after party with the people that are on the show. They're going to mention something similar here, but I've just said this for so long. The fact that The Bachelor doesn't have like dedicated podcast networks in Los Angeles, Chicago, Nashville, and New York City blows my mind. You can rent these out for like $200 an hour. So anyway, my point being is that there is a chance for the audience to gain more bandwidth and more consumption from the show that might not drive like ad sales for like the petty online market, but it might build loyalty to tease and to hype what actually happens on Monday nights.
Like no one is really participating in the community because we feel like abandoned, and so do the people watching, and that's why you're losing your audience. Community and leads. That's my answer.
I love it too. And
how about you, David? You're a big Bachelor fan. What do you think?
Well, I just feel like they could do a better job of, like you said, the community, the consistency. Like, what better would it be after a Bachelor episode? Instead of 2 hours, make them an hour, have an hour after show, a half an hour after show.
And again, so what I say is don't do that. Don't cut down the network time. Just put it on YouTube after. People come to watch my channel, Bachelor Fan Take. People come to watch Barstool's after show. There is a community of people that'll go watch the after show. It just doesn't exist. And by the way, this helps out my channel. The reason why my channel can do so well is because you guys are so loyal and want more content and want more reading between the lines and discussion between the episodes.
Get some of the people who got the most screen time back live to comment about what they were feeling in certain situations. Get people to resonate and fall in love with the characters. God forbid, what if there were five favorites that didn't find love and didn't get picked, but they were fan favorites? What if you brought the 5 back the next season and gave them a chance?
Dude, that's like marketing, right? Like you think about like Logan Paul, right? Like you're starting to see him do stuff with UFC, and then they talk about him fighting Patty, and people are going, the whole world's talking about it. You have all these like built up controversies in Bachelor Nation that they just let go die out. Like think about all the things they could do with like exes and drama and things that happen on the internet and bring it into one. Look at every dynasty that's out there. Look at the NFL. Look at the way fans are reacting to players that are currently playing, players that become coaches and analysts, players that become Hall of Famers. Like, we know the guys that are 90 years old from the NFL. We know the kids that are 12 years old in high school right now considering being recruited. They create this like dynasty through community that you're interested, like you said, to the characters, the people, the drama, what's happening. Look at the NBA draft. It's
all right. So yeah, of course we got it all. I mean, instead they do some like, podunk TikTok reveal of the contestants. It's a lot easier for independent content creators like myself to pivot and to create new content versus like the old corporate model where they're working within the network. But don't think for a second it wouldn't be profitable. Though they'd make their money back in ad sales online. I think the show, anyway, but that's how I think the show should evolve. Now, they actually talked really briefly about stand-up comedy, and I wanted to give my 2 cents here. And I couldn't disagree more with with some of their takes, but let's have a listen.
Years, she doesn't think that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me preface it. They had Heather McDonald on the show, and she says she doesn't think the next batch of comedians will keep stand-up comedy going because they don't work hard enough. It's a very boomer take, if you ask me.
Did pronounce. There was no really finance questions, but there were two questions that I wanted to get your take on. And one was about the state and the future of stand-up comedy in her eyes. And she said that in 40 years, she doesn't think that stand-up comedy will exist because of young people. And because young people don't have the drive and dedication and determination to do what it takes to be a successful stand-up comic. That kind of blew me away. And I wanted your opinion on that because I never really thought about it. And here's someone who knows the industry inside and out saying this almost as matter-of-factly.
Let me first tell you, Heather McDonald, God bless her, she's not in the open mic circuit. She doesn't know, like, she's already made it as a headliner, so she travels to dates that are booked, makes good money, does spots in town and all that. There has never been more hustle than there is right now in the stand-up comedy game. A lot of people wouldn't have made it in her, like not to be bitter or petty here, but if you took Heather McDonald respectfully and put her as an open micer in today's world, not to say she wouldn't make it, but so many comics wouldn't make it because of the hustle, the drive that's out there. There is 100 times the amount of comics fighting for stage time right now, doing innovative things like stand-up shows, in breweries and random places, live street performances, man on the streets, things that like I do with my channel. There's so much hustle that's happening now that it's laughable for her to think that comics don't have what it takes to make it. It's everyone who will rise to the top will have done that because of sheer talent, because there are so many competitive forces making the cream rise.
There wasn't a lot of hint or doubt in her statement, so just wanted to get your take on that. I thought it was really, really interesting.
I mean, my take is the following. Like, when I look at how I have consumed comedians over the last 2 years, and I love stand-up, but it's rare at stand-up. I think I've gone to 3 or 4 shows in the last year or two. How I've consumed comedians is TikTok, and then whether they have streaming services or on their social media. So,
which, of course, is anecdotal because that's just him, and he's big on social media. My show last night was sold out. Shows are selling out. My show on the 15th is sold out. My show on the 4th on Saturday night was sold out. We are in the midst of a comedy boom. Maybe it's because of the pandemic. People are coming out finally. Maybe it's because it's the last place where people really say some wild things. And I don't think it's going away. I actually think with the way the world's going, stand-up's never been stronger. That's just what I think. So I completely disagree with her. I think she's a little out of touch with her answer. Respectfully. Now, with that said, I would love to go on Heather McDonald's podcast. If anyone follows her on social media, send her a DM, tag me in the Instagram, ask her to get me on the show. I'd love to promote my podcast on hers. I think we have a huge mutual following, and I would love to open for her. Why not? Bachelor Rush Hour, the podcast. Link in the comment section to check it out later today. We've got a couple big interviews coming up, so you're going to want to check that. Yesterday, we had Reality Steve on to talk about his spoilers. If you didn't listen to that episode, go back and listen to yesterday's. If you want spoilers, he does a great job of discussing his thought process in revealing spoilers. And again, if there's anyone who doesn't want the spoilers, I always announce with tons of time in advance if I'm going to discuss them, so you'll have a chance to tune away. All right, folks, more content coming to you guys right after this.